Good morning. Myself Aparna, Assistant Professor, Department of Biotechnology, Walton College of Arts and Science, Solapur. I'm here to explain the central nervous system. Learning outcomes. At the end of the session, students are able to explain concept of nervous system and parts of nervous system and their respective roles. Introduction. Nervous system, it is a one of organ present inside our body which involve in control and coordination of various activities of our body. Nervous coordination and hormonal coordination, these two major coordination occur inside the human body and which will help the human to maintain their steady position and the day-to-day reactions and actions in front of different natural activities occur surrounding to us. So depending on the structure and the functions, the nervous system, it is divided into two major parts, that is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Today in this session we are going to be detailed discussion about the central nervous system. So what is central nervous system and what are the parts of central nervous system? Central nervous system, it constitutes two major parts, that is brain and the spinal cord. It is evolved during the embryonic development and from the ectodermal layer, and it integrates received information and coordinate with the different organ system present in our body. It also influences the different all other body parts in our human structure. Now, structure of brain. Brain, it is a major part which is present inside the skull. Skull, it is the bony and a very hard part which will protect the brain from the mechanical and electrical injuries. It is soft, whitish, large sized and slightly flattened. The brain, it is made up of millions of neurons and these together coordinate our body activities. So what are the parts of brain? Parts of brain, or the brain, it is divided into four major parts, that is cerebrum, diencephalon, cerebellum and brainstem. So first, now we'll discuss about the structure and functions of first part of our brain, that is the cerebrum. Cerebrum, it is act as the largest part of human brain and it will count for 80 to 85% of total brain weight. The outer layer of cerebrum, it is called as a cerebral cortex and it is of grey color. There are different folds, or the many folds are present in the cerebral region. Those are called as convolutions. And these convolutions, depending on their structure, they are again nomenclatured as sulci and fissures. Shallow grooves are called as a sulci and the deeper grooves are called as a fissures. So cerebral hemisphere are connected by bridge of neurons called as a cerebral medulla, which is formed by white matter. So here outer cortex is made up of grey matter and middle connected layer, it is made up of white matter. And each hemisphere of cerebrum, it is again divided into four major parts, that is frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe and temporal lobe. These all together will maintain or carry a maximum brain function and it will count for the largest function of our brain and nervous system. Now next part of our brain, it is diencephalon. Diencephalon, it is present above the corpus callosum but below the midbrain and it is covered by cerebral hemisphere. Here it is a green part present inside this diagram. It will indicate the diencephalon structure. So this diencephalon carry four major parts again. First, it is called as diastole, which is involved in a communication with the ventricles. Next, epithalamus, it is involved or it is act as a roof of diencephalon, and here this epithalamus along with the pineal body act as a endocrine system, where in this endocrine system two hormones are secreted, that is serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin, it is involved in the activities like metabolical activities regulation which is occur in our body, and melatonin, it is involved in a metabolism melanin pigment. Next part, it is thalami. Thalami, it is a lateral wall of diencephalon and it will connect to all the brain parts. Last part or the fourth part of diencephalon, it is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, it is act as a floor of diencephalon, and it is involved in a optic chiasma regulation. Along with it will coordinate between nervous system and endocrine system. So overall function of diencephalon is it is act as a center for motor and sensory impulses between spinal cord and brainstem, and also with a various cerebral cortex. Next part of brain, it is cerebellum. Cerebellum, it is the second largest region of the brain. It is present at the posterior region of the brain, and it will count for 11% of total brain weight. This cerebellum, it is made up of two major parts, that is cerebral hemisphere, and one median vermis is present at the central region. Here cerebellum or the outer cortex of cerebellum, it is made up of gray matter, and inner matter, it is made up called as cerebral medulla, which is made up of white matter. What is the function of cerebellum? Cerebellum, it is having a major function as it is again a second largest region of our brain, which is the first function, important function of cerebellum is center for controlling equilibrium, posture of human body, balancing and orientation, regulate non-muscular activities like walking, running, speaking, etc. So these are the major portion functions of cerebellum, which will nothing but maintain our erect position or a different posture of human body during the different activities, and also it will control our day-to-day activities, that is nothing but running, walking, speaking, etc. Last or the fourth part of our brain, it is called as a brain stem. It is made up of pons virili and the medulla. Here, pons virili, it is present below the cerebrum and in front of cerebellum. So here it contains nerve fiber which bridge between the cerebellum and the medulla oblongata. So means pons virili will connect the cerebellum and the medulla oblongata of brain parts. What is the function of pons virili? It coordinates the activities of cerebellar hemispheres. Next part, it is about the medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is the most posterior region of our brain, which will continues with the spinal cord. And function of this particular medulla oblongata, it will control or involuntary functions like heartbeats, respiration, peristalsis, etc. So here, pons virili, the function to coordinate the cerebral hemisphere, and medulla oblongata will involve in the controlling the function of all our involuntary actions like breathing, peristalsis, respiration, and heartbeats. So, students, take a pause and try to answer how many parts of brains and what are their functions. So here is the answer. There are four parts of brain. First, it is cerebrum. Major part of brain control the major function of brain. Second part, diencephalon. It is communicate between the different parts of central nervous system. Cerebellum, it involved in the center for coordination of equilibrium, and also the fourth part, it is brain stem, which will coordinate activities of two cerebral hemisphere and also control the involuntary actions. This is about the brain. Now next part of central nervous system, it is the spinal cord. Spinal cord, it is the posterior extension of the medulla oblongata. It is enclosed in the neural canal of vertebral column, and it is count for 45 cm long and 2 cm thick. If morphology is considered, spinal cord is soft, whitish, slightly flattened, cylindrical tube with a narrow cavity called as a central canal. It is surrounded by three matters. First one, it is a dura mater, which is outermost matrix, tough, thick and fibrous, which is protective in function. Arachnoid matter, it is middle, thin, vascular. It is having with a nutritive and protective function both. And third one, which is called as a pie matter, innermost matter, present, most thin, lying in contact with the central nervous system, and highly vascular, hence nutritive in function. So these three matters together make the protection and provide the nutrition for the spinal cord. The spinal cord, it is divided into four different regions, that is cervical division or cervical region, thoracic division or thoracic region, lumbar division or lumbar region, and sacral division and or sacral region. So these all regions are connected with the different body parts and regulate their activities. Like cervical division will regulate the breathing, heart rate, and different functions which are nothing but the shoulder movements, wrist and elbow movement, etc. Thoracic division, which is present over here in the purple color, will go for a coordination of sympathetic tone, including temperature regulation and trunk stability. Next, lumbar division, which is present over here, it will go for the regulation of ejaculation and the hip motion. And last one, that is called as a sacral division, involved in the knee extension, perennial erection, and the knee flexation. So here the spinal cord will go for the communication between the body organs and the central nervous system with the help of two neurons called as the sensory neurons and the motor neurons. So, what is the structure of spinal cord? This is the actual spinal cord which is having with a two neuron structure called as sensory neurons and the motor neurons over here. Sensory neurons are those who are going to carry the information from the body parts, and it will be get passed towards the spinal cord, that is central nervous system. In the central nervous system, with the help of coordination and the regulation and with the help of interneuron, the process it is get converted into a signal, and that signal will be get carried by the motor neurons towards again that organ. So here these two neurons are involved in a controlling the movement. For example, if we are going to touch the hot pan, then that hot sensation, it is get sensed by the sensory neuron, it is get processed over here in the spinal cord in the central nervous system. Through this motor neuron, there is action, it is get replied that to remove the hand. So with the help of this motor neuron, we are immediately got the information and we are remove our hand and we are going to protect our body from that heat. So this is a function of spinal cord, and this will be connected by the sensory neurons and the motor neurons. So students, take a pause and try to answer parts of nervous system and which is a matter surrounded to the spinal cord. So here is the answer. Parts of central nervous systems are brain and the spinal cord. And spinal cord, it is surrounded by four matter, that is arachnoid matter, dura matter, and pi matter, which all together involved in a protection and giving the nutrition for the spinal cord. These are the references through which I went through. Thank you.